Okay, on this Johnson 15 horsepower 2006, I'm doing a quick compression test and see if I have spark. There's a couple ways I could do it. I could try to hook up a battery and go through my switch, and I'll do that in a little bit just to make sure that it does work. But then I took the rope starter off, recoil starter, and then I hooked up my couple things. I hooked up my spark checker, and then I also put in my compression gauge. I just checked this one, so the number 2, and so we're at 90 psi. And I can show that real quick just to double check it. Basically, I got my drill. You just gotta be careful. That should be enough. And what do we get? This one's showing about 80. That's dry. That's without anything squirted in the, inside the soliders. Get real hard just to see if it come up some. Yeah. So now we're at like 100. So I put 90. I just wrote it with a magic marker since it's white. Down here, it's really at 100. We do have spark. I don't know that you can see that or not. If you could see that it had spark, I was probably in the way. Let's set it up and see if maybe, what it gives us like on the top. I had to use this one because I didn't want to take the plastic piece off over here because it holds the 2 coils on. So I just used an old school compression tester. This compression tester, I forget the name of it. You can buy it at like O'Reilly's or Advance. Napa. So if you're going to buy one, spend a little extra money for the kit. Because they have different ones. This was a basic one. And then they have some other ones that they come as like, they have the extra adapters. And I had another compression tester with the adapters. So that I just used this adapter that I have. I would spend the extra little bit of money, and it is a good compression tester. I got a little O-ring on this fitting just to give it a little extra. I do that sometimes like on the when I'm doing a lower unit service, and I know, man, my hair is like way out. It's in the morning. I'm just kind of tooling around because it's raining. And, I don't want to... I can't do anything outside, so I might as well do it in the garage. Like I said, just be careful. Yeah, see how it'll want to twist on you. That's one way to check it. If your starter switch is working, then you don't have to do this. Because you just hit the button and you can do it. But what do we get? Same thing, about 100 psi, and it's got spark. So I know these things. Now I don't know if it says on here. Like, this is kind of cheap. I would like to have a really good glass one with a better casing. Be my next little thing to try to do is get a better tester. These testers are not all the same. It's not going to last. Good tester is kind of everything. Because that tells you the internal condition of the engine as far as the pistons, piston rings, cylinders. It really doesn't tell the whole story. Obviously, we don't know about the reed valves. We don't know if there was any type of scarring that's on those walls. Like on a small engine like this, 100 psi is pretty good. Now, some of the older ones that Johnson made, And of course, you had some that were slightly higher compression readings. 120 psi is kind of a common thing. But there are some engines that have 130 psi. They have 160 on some of the, like the Mercury 120s. Some of them are the Mercury 20s. I'm sorry. Some of those were, up to like 160 psi. I think those are really good engines because under load, I'm guessing the compression probably goes down a little bit, but it's really about physics. That tells us that we got fire and we got good compression. So then it's really left up to fuel and our air mixture. So air idle, we have those things. It's pulling fuel in. Now it's ready to kind of get the start stop switch. I get it installed, the chaps back on the side of it, and then put it on the stand and see if we can't get it to run. On this one I can use I have a little key switch everybody's seen me use, and or you could do a remote start switch. You can also buy those, and we can check to make sure that this starter's good. I have no reason to think that it's bad. If the switch was shorting, then it would just be on all the time. But it's obviously it was probably open. I think he said that it still sort of worked because it is a sealed piece of plastic. So my reasoning is that is fine and is working as it should. We need to at least put our fuel pump on, and it's a waiting game with parts these days because obviously even if you go to a car parts place, they're out of stock of a lot of stuff. It's not terrible, but it's like they get it, and as soon as they get it, everybody buys it, and then they're out of stock, and until they get it again. Johnson Evinrude, you just have to get it from whoever still has those parts, because I don't know if they're still buying from BRP or not. BRP a while back said that they were still making parts, but they weren't going to make any motors. I don't know if that's changed. It may have changed. Our local was Johnson Evinrude dealer, Riverside Marine in Nashville, closed. So they closed their doors because they just couldn't get any boats. I think they'd been in business for 40 years, so maybe they were just ready to retire, which I don't blame them. But anyway, that's where I got a lot of that. They had the odd parts that nobody else had. I could go other places in town to get basic stuff, but why do that when I can order it? It just takes longer because I could be done. I could just be done with it and ship it. So really, that's the big thing for me personally, is waiting on parts, because it just takes a while to get certain parts. So and it's really about how soon to get to them. Now, when I took the spark plugs out, they had somebody put some anti-seize on it, which is fine. I don't do it, but that doesn't mean anything. I don't know if it's the right plug. I'll have to look that up. And I don't know if they have a gap to the correct gap. So you always check that when you do a service. Unless you service the engine, you don't know what somebody else did. And that's almost 90% of the time. It is what it is. You just kind of check everything and make sure you're good. I'm going to put some light on the subject. Maybe take a peek at the carb. Just make sure it's good. Take the shroud out, or the remote, the pull rope, recoil starter, whatever the terminology you want to use. There's 3 bolts that holds it on, and you can't see it, but over here we got a linkage. But other than that, I hope everybody's doing well. So there's things that we learned about this engine today. Thanks for watching.